Alright, welcome to my guided walkthrough on how to get through the Evil Within on the dreaded Akumu difficulty setting. As the description of this mode says, it is pure hell, and that is a very accurate description of this difficulty, because it is insanely high. I am one of the few proud members of the Platinum Trophy for this game, which at this time only 0.5% of all players have been able to get. Same goes for the specific trophy for beating Akumu mode. So that kind of testifies that only the masochists among us are insane enough to put themselves through this. I'm just saying that so that if you want to try this yourself, know what you're getting yourself into. It requires a lot of willpower to make it through. However, willpower is not enough. You definitely need to know what you're doing. So if you don't, then I hope that this walkthrough can help you out. Now, chapter 1 is mostly exposition, so there isn't too much to say about it. So that allows me to first talk about this game and this difficulty setting in general. So Akumu mode is unlocked by beating the game on survival mode. When you first start the game there are only two settings, casual and survival, which basically means easy and normal mode. And after finishing the game you unlock Nightmare and Akumu. Nightmare is essentially hard mode that changes certain parts of the game. Locations, numbers and types of enemies and traps. And of course how much damage enemies take. And Akumu is the exact same game experience as Nightmare mode with one crucial difference. Everything on Akumu mode is a one-hit kill. And I mean everything. If it hits you, you are dead, no matter what it is. Now that is in and of itself already really punishing, but that's not the worst thing. It's the one-hit kills combined with the fact that this game is neither fair nor consistent. You will die for bullshit reasons, both in the sense of it being because things you couldn't know were coming, and because the game doesn't adhere to its own rules. And sometimes just flat out refuses to function properly. And that makes this difficulty setting incredibly frustrating. Now I can tolerate unfairness in the sense of having to memorize things, but only if the game at least functions consistently. Let's use a comparison. Battletoads for the NES, the hardest game I have ever played. Legendary difficulty and also legendary in how unfair it is, since you literally have to memorize the entire game, because you need to be able to react to things before they even enter the screen. But here's the difference. That game is 100% consistent. If you do the same thing 10 times, you will get the same result 10 times. So the right strategy with the right timing always results in success in that game. Not in the Evil Within, however. And I need to emphasize that, because no matter what strategy I present in this game, it will not guarantee success, even when executed perfectly. This game breaks its own rules. To really drive that point home, there is a YouTuber who after many tries managed to get through Akumu mode without dying once. But even he has a compilation of previous attempts where he died for absolutely no good reason whatsoever. So again, know what you're getting yourself into, and keep in mind that any strategy I provide in this walkthrough can fail whenever the game, well, decides to kill you, so to say. Okay then, here we are at the only section of chapter 1 that has actual gameplay. However, it's basically the same as on survival, with the exception of a chest blocking your way at the back of the second section of this room. Meaning that you will need to wait for the sadist to break that chest. And make sure to pick up a bottle to distract him after he breaks that chest. Now it's not the case that this is the only way to get past here, but this is definitely the safest way. It is actually possible to kill the sadist as well, but that takes a lot of patience. As you may know, you can actually backstab him, however that doesn't kill him, so you need to get back to that locker you were hiding in, and if you manage to backstab him no less than 15 times, that will kill him. And the reward for that will be quite a bit of green gel, but to be honest, I don't think that's really worth it. So just distract him and get to the elevator. And that's all there is to chapter 1. As I said, this is just exposition, merely an introduction. But the next chapter will immediately smack you in the face with how difficult this playthrough is going to be. But it will also allow you to see the importance of strategy, and that you even have abilities that aren't even explained within the game itself, strangely enough.
Hey, are you guys from around here? I don't know where...
Can't go on.
Alright, chapter 2 is all about managing to survive with very limited resources. You can't just shoot everyone with only a few bullets at your disposal. However, even though this is not explained in game, you can turn bottles into lethal weapons. If you throw a bottle right into an enemy's face, it will stagger that enemy, and you can actually perform a stealth kill by crouching and pressing X, just like how you can do when you sneak up behind an enemy. However, this is quite difficult to do. If your throw doesn't hit the enemy precisely in the face, it will not work. So it does take a bit of practice. Basically, you need to wait until the enemy is really close, and because you throw in an arch, you need to awkwardly point the camera down. It is really tricky, but it is a very powerful move. Because any knife kill implies no waste of valuable resources. And speaking of valuable resources, the most valuable one of all is without a doubt the match. So make sure to upgrade the amount of matches you can carry first. In fact, just overall, use your green gel mainly on the ability to hold more resources. That takes priority over damage, and of course on Akumu mode, you can ignore your health bar completely. The area before the gate is full of enemies, but the first 3 can relatively easily be exposed of using a single match. If you light a haystack and run around it, the enemies will burn themselves. And burning always means instant death, even when it comes to more powerful enemies, with the exception of bosses of course. Now, I am keeping these videos very much to the point, as this is a very long game, so you won't see me picking up everything. In fact, I sometimes choose not to pick things up, just to have an easier time making it through the area. Because dying can set you quite a bit back at some points. And you better be ready to die a lot in this playthrough. So, burning enemies is really effective, but stealth kills are even better as they waste nothing. However, on Akumu mode, the enemy awareness is quite absurd and not very consistent. So enemies can sense you even when it makes no sense for them to be able to sense you. Your best bet is to approach enemies completely in a straight line from the back, and when you are approaching them, keep tapping the X button so that you will stab them the first possible frame that you can stab them. Otherwise, chances are that they will turn around and kill you. Another grave danger throughout the game are bear traps. Like everything else on Akumu mode, those are one-hit kills as well. And they are not on the same places as on survival mode, at least not all of them, and there are actually more of them. And dying because of a bear trap can be really frustrating. Now, traps can also be used against enemies. When they are stuck in a bear trap, you can burn them with a match. And explosive traps can kill enemies. However, they can also randomly merely knock them down instead of killing them. In most cases though, you will want to disarm traps for trap parts, because the agony crossbow is the most important weapon in the entire game. However, I did ignore the traps here just to be able to make it through this area quickly. So I did not gather all the resources that I could. There is much more to find here. But that likely means that you need to kill all the enemies, and that is not a requirement to make it through this area. This wasn't exactly according to plan, but because the enemy inside the house saw me, I used the corpse of the enemy that I just killed to my advantage, so I could kill that enemy with a match. And that is something you'll be doing a lot throughout this playthrough. I was of course holding a torch as well, but you automatically drop that one if you do a stealth kill. Here you can see how easily you can get detected by an enemy on Akumu mode. And it's not so much that the enemies are hyper aware, it's that it's not really consistent. Sometimes you are almost in full view and they don't see you, and other times you are almost completely hidden and they do see you. There are 3 enemies on the ground that look dead, but as soon as you turn the valve to open up the gate, they will stand up and kill you. So as long as you kill those 3 and the other enemies are not aggroed at all, or if they are and you get away until they are de-aggroed, you are free to open up the gate. If you hit a regular enemy like this in the leg, he will fall down so you can use a match. Headshots are not necessarily a one-hit kill after all. That's based on RNG and your critical hit stat. Also, if you've seen my Metal Gear Solid 2 playthrough, you know that precise aiming isn't exactly what I excel at. However, this is also one of those inconsistent factors in this game. 9 out of 10 times shooting an enemy in the leg when it's walking towards you will work, and then sometimes it just refuses to work. It's really stupid and really annoying, but it is a thing, so be prepared for it. After the gate there is some more green gel to pick up, but after that you can just run past the enemies. In fact, that's what you see in the cutscene, that you are fleeing from a horde of enemies. Now, one more thing I need to mention is about breakable crates. Those are randomized. In fact, if you die, the same crate can give you a different item or no item at all. And as you probably already know, the lockers in the hospital are all randomized as well. However, in the next chapter I get really lucky with the lockers and I get green gel 4 times in a row. So that's a really nice start for a run like this. But that's favorable RNG, of course. Alright, that's the end of chapter 2. Feel free to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and stay tuned for the next episode.
God damn it!